This is Joe Wong, and I'm here with Janko, and this is day 2 of the ECS Season 1 Finals. How's the event for you so far, Janko?
I think it's been great. I've had some time off, and I feel refreshed. And I missed the events a little bit, missed all the people behind it as well. So I think it's been going great. We have only almost the same lineup as we had at the Pro League Finals, only a TSM in place of Optic, and we already had some upsets NAP out of the tournament. First time in history, of the team that they actually drop out of a tournament without winning a single map. Astralis dropping out of the group stages as well. So it's been pretty interesting so far.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the results. NA was pretty much 4 for 4, right? They've done pretty well this event. What do you make of it?
I think it shows that the region has been improving in general, and it also shows maybe to an extent the complacency of the EU teams, but they've also had some changes. Astralis changed a player recently, and G2 can be inconsistent at times. They're dependent a bit too much perhaps on performances of Shocks and Scream. So all things considered, there's definitely a lot of firepower in the new Liquid team, for example. So it's looking good for NA.
So let's talk about, I guess, your career as an analyst, and you've kind of come out since last year, and pretty much I rank you near the top, next to Thorn and stuff like that. And initially the community was a little bit hesitant to, I guess, accept you fully. They were all fired up for Thorin's banter-filled analysis, but you brought a much more strict, I guess, much more focused analysis. How much of the community did that affect you at all? Continuing to go to events.
Not really, no. I felt that there was room for the type of analysis that I do, that it was missing to an extent, trying to translate to the viewers, so to speak, why the games go the way they go, that it's not just about headshots, and the individual performances of players, that there's a lot more depth to it strategically, that there's a lot of thought process behind why teams do what they do. So initially I was maybe not sure if I have the right mindset about it all, but after a couple of events I got some feedback from my peers, the colleagues, employers, and some of the players as well that I respect. So after that I really had no issues going forward.
How much prep do you put into an event, especially if you haven't been to an event every week, but when it does get to the stage where you're having an event every couple of weeks, do you sort of just ride the kind of knowledge base that you already have, or do you take that time to, watch other games?
To an extent. April and May, for example, have been pretty hectic. I've been home for only 5 days in 2 months. So when you do a lot of games, a lot of tournaments, it's basically like doing prep. You're just doing it live. So I have a pretty good idea of, let's say, what all the teams like to play in terms of maps, their general play styles. But I always had things that I wanted to do. If I had more time, go a bit more in depth with some teams and matchups. Let's say if I know that I'm doing a tournament, if the organizer can give me a schedule of what games I'm going to be on, like at least for the first games, the group stage matchups, then I can, I have a pretty good idea what map will be played, so I can say things like, okay, watch out for Cloud9. If they win the pistol round on Cash, the first gun round on T side, they're probably going to go for this, and some tendencies like that are a bit more in depth. I think it would be a cool thing maybe to add, but in general I've been working so many events, both online and LAN tournaments, that it's been a prep in itself, so to speak.
When you do have that time to prep, what do you look at? Do you download demos and sort of go into the games, or just look at like results or stats?
Well, it depends. For the tier 1 teams, I mostly download demos and watch their games to get to try and see if they're changing up their play style, or after a team switches a player, to see if they're switching up their game as a whole. For the lesser known teams, I have to look up at times their games in a sense to have an idea of what they like, which maps they like to play, see who are the more consistent players, who are the players that maybe take responsibility when it's crunch time, the ones that will step up. So it's a mixture of things mostly.
So I can't remember which tournament it was, but you're probably one of the first analysts that kind of brought an extra step in sort of, I don't know what tool that was that you used where it had that overview of the map and you went through an entire execute. Do you think analysis is moving in that direction to where you're focused more on executes and looking at that strategy
I
side?
feel that whether it's I think that was when I was using Stats Helix at the E-League qualifiers online last December, but whether it's that or it's the Weatherman segment or if it's just doing replays like at this event where I can pick out a round, I think that brings a lot to a desk segment, simply because I would talk about that round anyway, but me being able to show it to the viewers, it makes it much easier for them to understand what I'm trying to say, and it's only a matter of finding the right balance of doing it concisely enough so it doesn't take over the whole segment pretty much. But yes, I feel it's an awesome addition to the desk, having segments like those.
So, analysis has kind of been, Thorne's pretty outspoken about how much time should be devoted to analysis, pre-game and post-game, and in a series, every map, stuff like that. What do you think is the best way to sort of analyze a post-game series? Are you fine with, going through like highlights of players, or do you like to sort of like pick around and break that down?
I think that in every game there are a couple of key rounds. I mean, if it's a close game, most of the times there are a couple of key rounds that determine, who is the winner. Mm-hmm. There, and I think that I try to pick out those rounds. I try to find out the rounds that, in my opinion, have been the most crucial ones, and then I go in depth for those rounds and see what was it that won a team those rounds, or was it the mistakes of one team, or did a team do something really good which won them those rounds. Every now and then you have a game where just a couple of players or a player goes off and basically carries his team to victory. Shocks is a great example of that for G2, and there's not much you can say in games like that, but I feel most of the games you have key rounds or key mistakes or mistakes by teams in crucial rounds that decided the winner of the game.
Okay. So right now, there was a time in the scene where the top 6 or 7 teams were pretty well structured, but now it feels like, aside from LG and Fnatic, it's kind of volatile. There are teams like NIP, who's ranked number 3, who can drop maps or drop out of the tournament completely. Where do you see? I mean, do you think it's because teams are more competitive, or do you think that the top 10 are not playing to their standard?
Okay. I feel that it's always a combination of both. To an extent, I do feel that the scene now is more competitive than it ever was. Pretty much, there are a lot of teams that can beat each other, but it's also has something to do with playing styles of teams. Let's say NIP really mastered the slow style with a lot of strats, methodical play style, but I feel that they're one-dimensional right now. So they're, as Flasha said in that interview, it's easy to predict their game. So that's why we can see them dropping games to lower teams as well. And it's just a matter of them getting the practice in to broaden their play style pretty much. And there are always going to be upsets. I feel that we also have a lot of tournaments right now, which at times you just have teams flying from a tournament to tournament, not having enough time to practice and to go and analyze their game and fix mistakes. And as I said, in general, a much more competitive scene, and we have a number of up and coming players like the TSM players. We have Twist and Sick who came out of nowhere and suddenly they're on par with the best out there, managing to upset teams, and now they're going to play in the decider game against Cloud9.
Okay, great. Well, we've got to wrap it up. Do you have any last words or shout outs?
I don't know. Shout out to all of my boys from the CSGO talent pool.
Okay, great. Thanks for the interview.
No problem. Thank you.